All right, we're live. Hey, if you want to join us live, there was a link in the email, and I think there's even a link in the description below where you can join us live. And if you're not camera shy, you got a mic and a good camera, you can join us live and ask your questions live. So, hey, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. You can join me on today's broadcast. Now, today, whoops, let me close that out. All right, so today we're actually talking about the drawbacks of living in Costa Rica. And why is it that so many people, 80 to 90% of the expats that come to Costa Rica, well, the majority of them actually leave. Most of them leave within the first 2 years. And that shocks me. It's really surprising because I've been here 9 years and since 2013. And look, I think I have experienced just about all of the bad stuff you can experience. Now, I'm sure that there's a lot more stuff out there I hadn't experienced, so I don't want to experience bad stuff. But look, I have been through a lot of bad stuff. I have been conned thousands upon thousands of dollars. A lot of bad things have happened, but you know what? Hey, it's just part of life. And no matter whether you're in the United States or whether you're in Costa Rica, hey, bad stuff does happen. Now, I do have to say that, because it's such a poor country, in my opinion, a lot more bad stuff happens here than it does in other countries, okay? But I always like to say, if you can control the environment, okay, then it can be so much better. When you're down here and you're renting and you're living, you can't really control the environment as much if you're having to rent, because there's not that many rental places that are off by themselves. Normally, if there is a house for rent, well, it's because, it's a family environment. There's usually several houses right there. Your neighbor is within farting distance. I shouldn't say that, but I mean, they're so close. We lived in one place. We were so close to our neighbors, we could actually hear them talking through our walls in their house. They happen to have chickens that they would come out and put them on our clothesline every morning because they were fighting cocks. Okay, so it's insane. But hey, it's time to, it's just part of being in Costa Rica, and it's just something that you'll get used to. Now, I see there are some people that are coming in live and it says that their devices are not connected, so maybe you're only coming in live through audio. I'm not sure, but anyway, I hope that you can join us live. Okay. All right, so here's a good question that comes in, and Mark says, well, why is there so many negatives on your post? I know realistic, but one likes to see upbeat. So I'm not sure what you're saying there, but hey, you know what? There's you always need to talk about some of the disadvantages, the negative things, the drawbacks. If you don't, there's a lot of channels out there, and the only thing they talk about is the good stuff. And, we've always said from the very beginning, we're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, this is not a whining session. So while there has been a lot of bad things that happen, I'll share some of those bad things in hopes to maybe inform you so that you know what you can do to avoid some of those things, or how you can protect yourself. Like in this last video that just premiered, I was on my last credit card. Well, all of my credit cards have been compromised, and it's difficult to actually get a new credit card here. And I had to contact the bank, and they said they'll have me 2 new credit cards next week. But, you have to understand that there's just a lot of dishonest people. They don't have a lot of money. And so if they have the ability to take a photo of your card front and back and use it down the road, they will. So here's a good way to protect yourself from that. Okay. If you could use an Apple Card, because here's what I do. An Apple Card doesn't have the numbers on there. So you can protect yourself by using an Apple Card. But like I shared in that video, it's not going to protect you 100% because the owner can actually use it. So what I've done now is I have, because of my online businesses, I have a lot of stuff that automatically get charged every single month. And I like those things to just be on autopilot so I don't have to worry about them. So what I do now is I have a digital card that takes care of all of those auto payments, those reoccurring charges, and then that digital card never gets used in Costa Rica. That way, whenever my card gets compromised, like it did just yesterday, well, now I don't have to stop, go and change every single one of those things, which is a hassle, big hassle. But hey, look, there's a lot of things that happen, but there are ways around and ways to protect yourself so that you don't have that headache to put up with. Because, I think what happens, it's what I call the breaker effect. If you understand how the breakers work in your house, electrical breakers, well, if you've got too many things plugged into too many outlets that all go to the same breaker, then it could overload. Well, what happens is that breaker flips. And the reason that breaker flips and turns off the power is so that you don't burn your house down, okay? And so that's a good thing. However, whenever there's so much stuff coming at you and it's like, the car broke down, you got stranded on the highway. That's what happened to me this week, okay? The electricity went off, the water went off, you got conned by somebody. And then it's like everything, your credit card gets, stolen. Well, all of that stuff can do the breaker effect where you just get so overwhelmed and you're like, I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm going home. I'm leaving. And, it does get better, especially if you can learn about these drawbacks of living in Costa Rica. If you can learn about all these bad things, if you can learn about the disadvantages, and then if you can do something about it, well, hey, look, there's been a lot of bad things that have happened, but after 9 years since 2013, I'm still here. And you know what? I'll never go and live in the United States again, okay? Because I just truly, for me, the pros far outweigh the cons. I really, really enjoy it. But hey, like Irina says, hey, it's better to be ready for the bad than just to ignore it, because look, things do happen. So it's always good to be prepared. So, let me just share with you a little bit. It was a tough week for me. So, hey, not only did my credit cards get compromised, right? Electricity goes off. Well, I've got this lady friend. She's just a friend, and we were going out to eat. Well, on the way to go out to eat, well, we get about 20 minutes away, and my car jumps out of gear. And I'm like, why in the world it jumped out of gear? And I'm trying to put it in gear, wouldn't go anymore. And I'm like, I'll be doggone it. It's raining. It's dark. We're on this road. There's no shoulders. And I'm really just trying to go a little bit further in hopes to get off the road, because look, this is a third world country. There are no shoulders for the most part. I would say 95% of the roads in Costa Rica don't have shoulders, okay? So I'm hoping to coast far enough to maybe get into a driveway, get off the road, because it's so dangerous. Well, I didn't find any, and I'm stuck on the side of the road as far as I can get over. Well, I thought, I know what, I'm going to put it in four-wheel drive and see if I can creep along. I did that. I put it in four-wheel drive. I creeped along just a couple of feet, and all of a sudden, the wheel fell off. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I could hear this noise, and I'm like, something ain't right. I took it to the mechanic. I told the mechanic about it, and I asked him to look at it. So the mechanic looked at it. You know what he did? He said he fixed the brakes, did some stuff in there. Well, I just had my brakes replaced a few months ago, so I know that wasn't it. But he did not find the problem, and I ended up paying for something that probably didn't need to be done. Did I get conned? Probably, okay, because it didn't fix the problem. But had I had a good mechanic, they should have found the problem, and so now I've got more damage than I would have if they would have found it. Hey, it's just part of being in Costa Rica. It's the Pura Vida mentality. Well, I didn't see nothing wrong. I really didn't look, but I made some money off you. It's just part of it. So, that's some of the things that you need to learn. Whenever you talk to a mechanic, you need to be sure to ask them and get an estimate long before you agree to the work. Because if you don't, you will get overcharged. So, those are some different things. Anyway, just to kind of give you an idea, indeed, it was a very, very tough week. And if, I could have easily got overwhelmed, but I've gotten to the point in my life where I just laugh it off. It's like, well, just another adventure, and I did everything I could possibly do in hopes to alleviate that, but still things do happen. that are beyond your control. So it was a tough week, but hey, you just got to do what you got to do. Now, like I said in that other video, if you happen to live in the San Jose or metropolitan area and you're close enough to where you can do your shopping there, you can almost find anything you want. And there's really, I say, a lot of things to do. There's a lot of places to go eat, you know, because in general, most people don't go live in the city, but those that live in the city say they love it. I'm just not a city person. However, if you don't live in that area and you go down to anywhere else in Costa Rica, well, you're in what's called that honeymoon phase where, man, all you can think about is laying in a hammock, drinking martinis and, you know, eating mangoes, and you're in that honeymoon phase. Everything is wonderful. Well, you know, that honeymoon phase quickly runs out, especially when you're like, well, this is the 10th time I've laid in the hammock on the beach. I wonder what can I do today? Well, you know what? There ain't nothing to do here. No, there's nothing to do in Costa Rica. Now, if you're a nature person and you like birding and you like hiking and you love nature, that's me. There's a lot of stuff to do. But if you're not the outdoors type of person, you don't like gardening, you don't like taking care of your yard, and you're just going to pay someone to do that, you're going to get bored pretty quickly, because the only thing you can do is go find a place to eat. And if you're living in a small town, you run out of that pretty quick, because how many times can you eat at the same Chinese place, the same restaurant, and all the food is pretty much the same in Costa Rica. You just have to realize that, okay? And, you know, so be thinking that when you're in Costa Rica, you don't come for the food. You know, people, when they go out to eat, they're like, hey, honey, what do you want to go eat? Oh, you know what? Do you want Italian? Hey, do you feel like pizza? Maybe you want to go eat Cajun. Hey, how about Japanese? You have never, and I ask you right now, if you disagree, let me know. Have you ever heard anyone say, oh, you know what? Let's go eat Costa Rican? No, you will never find a restaurant in the United States that's Costa Rican food. And that's because the Costa Rican food, while it's unique, it's very, very bland food. And hey, that's just the way they cook. So if you like bland food and hey, you can really enjoy the flavors, but it's bland, okay? That's just part of Costa Rica. So there's a lot of things that you just accept about Costa Rica. So when I cook with lots of seasonings. I cook with, you know, because I like Cajun food. Cajun food is some of the best food in the world, but it's flavorful seasonings. Not too much seasoning. Otherwise, the only thing you taste is seasoning. So those are different things. Hey, Greg, thank you so much for donating. You can always donate. If you look, there's a $sign over on YouTube. But hey, greatly appreciate it. Lots of folks. Let me take a moment to welcome you in. I'm so glad that you are here, okay? And look, it's like Greg is saying, hey, you're definitely speaking the truth, even though some people may not want to hear it. He says he's a nature freak and minimalist, so nature works for him, and we do need apple juice. I agree. So, you know, I'm not trying to scare you away. Hey, thank you, Arena. She gives me a virtual hug. Woo! Thank you. I really appreciate it. You know, there's... I lost track for a second, but anyway, in Costa Rica, if you're a nature person, you're really going to love it, but it is important to be prepared. You know, for 9 years, I've done a lot of stuff and I've learned a lot of stuff. And I can be honest and tell you that the first few years I wanted to do a channel and I didn't, because I was so angry at the people of Costa Rica, because I felt like every time I turned around, I was getting ripped off. You know, I was getting the gringo price. And look, I've been here for 9 years. Now, listen to this. I want you to write this down, okay, because this is important. I'm a very outgoing, very friendly. I will give the shirt off my back to help anybody. I've been here for 9 years, and in 9 years, there's only 2 actual Costa Ricans that I can honestly say that I have... that I can honestly say are my friends that have actually gone out of their way to help me, okay? So don't you think that's maybe a little bit odd that out of 9 years, I've only got 2 Tico friends, and those Tico friends agree with me. I've got one Tico friend, his name is Rudy, super good guy, and he says, Alan, never trust a Tico. He's Tico. I'm like, well, why is that, to Rudy? I mean, why do you say that? You're Tico. He says, look, Ticos, they believe that every gringo is stupid. I'm like, well, why is that? He says, because it's so easy to cheat you, to steal your money. And you know what? You don't ever say anything about it. Look, that's just the facts of life, okay? So, but like I said, there are things you can do, and that, is to make sure that you don't get conned. I met one of my subscribers just, a couple of days ago. I like to, if you happen to be in my area, hey, I'm going to go out of my way to, you invite me out to eat some apple juice, I'm going to go meet up with you. And he shared with me that, you know what? He pulls out a 20,000 kroner note and he says, hey, how much is this worth? Because, hey, he's brand new. He didn't know how much it was worth. And I told him, well, that 20,000 kroner note's about $30. And he said, he was paying for his meal. And he took out two 20,000 kroner notes, gave it to him. And the guy said, okay, thank you. In other words, he took it as a tip. And he's like, he wasn't too sure. He thought, well, maybe it's not worth as much as he thought. Well, he had been conned, and obviously the Tico that took that money knew that he did know what was going on and took advantage of him. And the Tico knew that, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You probably are not going to say anything because you wouldn't want to be embarrassed in case you were wrong. So here's what I've normally, I don't live in touristy areas. I don't. Okay, because I don't want to be in a tourist area. But because we're now doing this new series on can we build a house in Costa Rica in 90 days or less, I am in a very, very touristy area. And wow, am I learning some stuff that I didn't know. And I didn't know how crooked, how corrupt, how bad the tourist, the Ticos are in touristy areas. So I got an old vehicle. My windshield wipers had broke, and all it was is a little bitty bushing that needed to be replaced. Took it to this one guy. He looks at it. He works on it for 2 hours before he finally found it. He charged me, I want to say $70 just for the 2 hours. Okay. Still hadn't fixed it. And then he says, we're going to have to replace this part, but it's going to cost $850. I'm like, dude, it ain't no way it's $850 to replace that part for the windshield wiper. I took it to another mechanic, and for about $70, had that part fixed. So look, if you don't know any better, and that Tico thought I didn't know any better, they will throw out a price just to see if you will bite. So it's kind of like fishing. It's like, hey, I'm going to throw out a hook, and if that dumb gringo bites, well, then it serves him right, and he deserves to get cheated. So, it's just what you have to think about, and you just need to know about that, okay? So, let me take a look at some of my notes right here. Let me tell you, just to share with you, I'm broke down on the side of the road. So some of these are the things that will just drive you absolutely nuts, okay? I'm driving down the highway. I'm broke down. I'm as far over to the side of the road as I can. It's dark. It's raining. My flashers are on. And even though my flashers are on, the Ticos are behind me blowing their horn. Now, wait a minute. It's obvious I'm broke down. Blowing your horn is not going to fix my vehicle. That's just the way Ticos are. Now, they didn't know I was a gringo. So, in other words, that means they do that to everybody. And look, Ticos are the world's worst about pulling over on the side of the road. They're not broke down. They don't even pull over on the side of the road. They stop in the middle of the road, talk on their phone, or two people will stop in the middle of the road and talk to one another. That is the normal in Costa Rica. Drives me nuts. It's not uncommon. Look, the place that I'm staying at right here, I always back my vehicle in because I'm in a hurry in case I need to go to the build site. I'm going to take off. Well, had a guy parked right in front of my vehicle. Common sense says there ain't no way I can get out, but he parked in front of my vehicle instead of an open slot where he could have parked. Why is that? Rudy says, my best friend, he says, Ticos don't think past their nose. They're only thinking about right here, right now. That's all they're thinking about, okay? So anyway, I'm on the side of the road. And so the lady friend I had with me, she doesn't have the experience I have in Costa Rica, and she was really concerned. She's not Costa Rican, and she was worried. And she's like, well, you think we ought to go outside and maybe we could hail somebody, and get some help? And I says, look, I've done that before. I actually, one time I was on the side of the road. My vehicle had died, had pulled over, and it died, wouldn't crank. So I took my jumper cables out, and I'm practically standing in the middle of the road with my jumper cables so that people could say, look, I just need 5 minutes. Just somebody just pull over and 5 minutes, help jump me so I can get where I'm going. Well, they would not stop. Matter of fact, a lot of them blew their horn at me, and they would be like, no, gringo, get out the road, gringo. They would not. I'm stranded, and it was easy to see that I just needed someone to help me, and they wouldn't do it. So you always hear, and I want to share this, okay? You always hear how nice and how friendly the Ticos are. And look, they are. But there is an ulterior motive, and it's generally to see if they can benefit or get something out of you down the road, if they're going to be able to con you, okay? It's just part of life, okay? So anyway, I'm on the side of the road. My lady friend is really worried, and she says, well, maybe we can call the police. And about that time, you could see flashing lights. Police were on their way. She says, oh, they'll stop. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but those police are not going to stop. Oh, yeah, they'll stop. Well, sure enough, the police, with their lights flashing, my emergency flash was on, the police went right on by me. Why is that? So it's important to understand you really have about 3 different types of police here. You have what I call the presence police. And the presence police, they're just there if they happen. Now, they should have stopped, to check on me, but they didn't. The presence police is there to make sure that there's any crime that they see, anyone arguing, they will stop, okay? If they don't see anything or they don't feel like stopping, they won't stop, okay? And probably the reason they didn't stop is they're like, oh, he's broke down. That's for the traffic cops, okay? Because the second type of police, you got the presence police, you got the traffic cops, and then you got the OIJ, I think, and that's kind of like the FBI. Well, the presence police, they're the kind that they'll be driving through town. They always have their lights on. In other words, they're letting you know they're coming. Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad you let me know, because if I'm a thief and I'm breaking into your house, guess what? I see your lights coming. I can turn my flashlight off. This way, you won't catch me breaking into somebody's house. So thank you for being the presence police and letting me know that you're coming. So I'm letting you know about these things. I'm not complaining, but these are things that you need to know about, okay? I'm stranded on the side of the road, and even the police pass by and don't offer any help, okay? So, all of that would have been enough to say, I'm leaving. I'm going home. I'm never coming back. But for me, the pros far outweigh the cons. I enjoy nature. I am a minimalist, like Greg, I enjoy life in Costa Rica, but where I live at, I can control the circumstance. I can control my environment. I don't have any visitors. I don't have anybody bothering me, and so it's important. And, like Sebastian says, karma is coming for them. Stealing keeps them poor. You're right. They're poor in character, poor financially, and it's just a poor man's mentality to cheat and steal. And you're right. It has always been that way, and it's not going to change. So that's the next thing you need to remember when you're coming to Costa Rica. Don't try to change the Ticos. I've always tried to help, and I've gotten to the point that I don't even want to help a Tico, but I still do. The other day I walked out on my patio, and I hardly ever walk out, but once in a while I take a little break, walk out, and I saw this guy on his motorcycle. He had broke down, and he was stuck in the middle of the road because he had this cart on the back. So I stopped what I was doing, and I went across the street, helped him push his cart that had 2 big dogs in it, helped push it off the road because I know how dangerous it is, So while I never have any Ticos help me, except for my 2 best friends, the only 2 friends that 2 Tico friends that I've met in 9 years, I'm still going to do the right thing. And that's what's important, is not to let, it was difficult for me. Try not to let that Pura Vida mentality affect you and change you, because, you can join a lot of forums, Facebook groups, and man, just, so before you come here, that's good advice. Join as many Facebook forums, Facebook groups, about Costa Rica, and just watch. Don't even say nothing. Well, Because if you say something, man, they're going to be all over you like white on rice, man. If you say the wrong thing, they'll jump at you like you're retarded. And there's so much negativity. And I'm thinking, dude, if you hate Costa Rica so much, why don't you leave? And a lot of times that's because these are people that they're retired. They only have 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. They really can't afford to live in the United States, but they can live in Costa Rica. But you know what? They're living in some environment where it's right next to somebody. They're hating life. But you know what? They can afford to live in Costa Rica, but they can't afford to live on that tiny retirement check in the United States. So it's really good to join these groups so that you can listen to the chatter, see what's going on, and you can learn a lot of stuff. Okay. So, hey, those are things that are just really important for you to understand, I've helped out so many people, and they'll maybe wash in my car, help me for a little bit, and then say, hey, can you give me 20,000 colones, and I'll go to town and buy this. You give them 20,000 colones, you never see them again. Well, I won't lose that 20,000 colones again. You just learn that he's not trusted. But I've heard that story again and again and again, and it happens a lot. So it's important. Hey, thank you so much, Dirk. I greatly appreciate your support. Rob says, I've been expatting in Kenya for the last 3 years, and he says it's very similar. And, I can imagine, I don't know a whole lot about Africa, but I think it's a poor country as well. And he says, I literally can't go anywhere a single day without someone looking to score from him. Very frustrating. Hey, Rob, I greatly appreciate you sharing that experience. And that's exactly the experience I have here. Now, I got to say, while I'm loving doing this whole, can we build a house in 90 days or less? I'm living in this tourist area. I can tell you, I really, really miss being at my place. So if you are here and you're wondering, well, hey, Alan, I thought you was building a tiny house. I am building a tiny house. However, somebody hired me to film this whole thing about building a house in Costa Rica. So I jumped on that. And when I get done filming that, I'll be back to building my tiny house up on top of the mountain. And hopefully you'll get to follow along and watch as I do that. Okay. I think a lot of people leave Costa Rica because they miss family. And I can totally understand that. My family was kind of, I forget the terminology, but anyway, we didn't have a very close-knit family. And so I didn't miss my family. Now I do miss, I miss my grandchildren, love my grandchildren. So you know what? I just hope that eventually they'll get to the point that I can either send them money and they can fly over, or I fly over there once in a while to go visit them. But what's good is with today's technology, man, look, you can get on your iPhone, you can FaceTime, or, you got all kind of things like this software that I use that I can FaceTime with them, or I can use Skype and FaceTime. So it's not nearly as bad as it used to be, because, I used to live in Japan for 3 years, loved it while I was in the Marine Corps. Very, very, very honest place. And there you go, Nikki. You let my baby girl out the door. Anyway, very honest place. And so huge, huge difference between Japan and Costa Rica. I could drop a wallet with $100 bills in there and they would never steal a single thing, and they'd bring it back. Matter of fact, short story, I had a neighbor who forgot her purse on the Shinkansen. That's the bullet train. So she just wrote it off, thought she would never, ever see it again. And you know what? About 2 weeks later, it showed up at the base and at the military police station. A Japanese person had brought it back, and she said not a single thing, not a penny, not a coin, not a credit card, not a dollar was missing. Japanese are just extremely, extremely polite, very honest people. Doug says, hey, that's why we try to buy everything in cash. And you know what? That's a very, very valid point. If you buy things in cash, then you won't have to worry about all of the problems I run into with having to replace a credit card. And, I really should buy everything in cash, but I'm an entrepreneur and I have a credit card that gives me cash back. So the more I spend on that credit card, then the more money I make. So I almost always make more money. Almost always I never have to pay interest because I'm making money by spending money. However, it's just a hassle and a pain in the butt because it gets compromised. They steal it. But Doug brings up a really great point. I'm glad you brought this up, because Doug says you can get scammed by gringos just as easy and usually for more than a tico. I'm so glad you brought that up, Doug, because that is very, very true. You know, gringos here have, because look, while the majority of Ticos, not all Ticos, there are some good Ticos in Costa Rica, but while the majority of them are corrupt, and it's just ingrained in them, they see the government's corrupt, so they're corrupt. Well, gringos that come down here, there's a lot of foreigners that are corrupt, okay? So there's a lot of gringos come down here, and they know you don't know any better. So when I was looking for solar panels, I actually had one gringo who tried to sell me some solar panels and batteries, and one battery was $10,000. I'm like, dude, I must have stupid written all over me, but it ain't no way I'm buying that, you know? I mean, what I ended up buying was some actual batteries, lithium batteries, that only cost me $1,000 a piece. But I know that was way overcharged. There's a lot of different scenarios where gringos will cheat you because they know they can, because they know you don't know better. So, hey, I'm glad that you did bring that up, because, you know, it's fair to be balanced. While there's a lot of Ticos that will rip you off, there's a lot of gringos that will rip you off. So you do need to do your own due diligence to be careful, okay? So, hey, that is important. And like I said, a lot of people, I think they miss their family, they go home, but with technology, it does make things easier, okay? Now, you know, it's important to realize that, hey, look, you are in a third world country, and because you are, then, you know, I don't say that in a mean way at all, because one of the reasons I love Costa Rica is because it's a third world country. One of the reasons I hate Costa Rica, it is a third world country. So at the same time, while there's so much I like about it, I love that there's not concrete jungles, you know, like New York City or LA. I love that I have so much nature. I love that there's so many places that there's hardly, especially where I live at. I live at what I call the end of the world of Costa Rica, you know, and there's no road past me. I'm at the very end. Nobody's up there. And, you know, yes, it took me a lot of work to establish internet. There is no cell phone signal, but I don't need it since I have internet. I don't have electricity, so I have solar panels. There is no hot water up there, but I put in my own propane hot water. You know, you know, it's no one up there has refrigerators or hot water, but I do, because I have solar. And, you know, the few Ticos that are there can't afford that, right? So, hey, look, I really can't afford it, but I was fortunate enough. I've saved up enough money to be able to get established, okay? So there are a lot of things that you can do to really enjoy life, and those are some of them, but keep in mind, it does cost you extra money in order to do all that. You know, because it is a third world country, the majority of the roads are bad. And, you know, so since it is bad, the best advice I could give you is whatever you can do, if at all, if you can avoid it, don't drive at night. And for sure, don't drive at night. Don't drive in the rain, because it's extremely, extremely dangerous. And unfortunately, the Ticos, they don't fear life. So they're still driving crazy fast in the dark and in the rain, and they'll run you over. So, hey, true story. I was leaving Walmart and I was in San Isidro, and it's a 4-lane highway, and I had plenty of room to get out, and I got out, and it was raining, not real hard. And hey, look, I'm driving down the road, and here comes that Tico behind me, and he's blowing his horn. He's right on my bumper. I guess the guy had road rage, because he got on the side of me. And when he got on the side of me, he's still blowing his horn. But I think he looked over through the window, saw I was gringo, and then pow, he hit me. I was like, man, I cannot believe it. So, you know, and he jumped out of his vehicle saying, gringo, you better have some money. You better have some money. You better have some money. So, you know, and that'll be a battle that'll be tied up in court for the next 10 or 20 years, because the court system is very, very, very slow. And you know what? There's no way I could prove, and no way I could prove that that wasn't my fault unless I had cameras installed in my car. So I got some cameras now, and you can install those dash cams so that you can prove that you were not in the wrong. But you know what? You know, one of the court system, and that's something you need to know about. The court system is very, very, very slow, and it's always in favor of the Tico, because gringo, you've got too much money. So it's not a fair court system, and you need to know that. So, hey, what can you do? hey, protect yourself. Be very careful. Don't drive at night. Even if you see a car way, way back, don't pull out unless you can floor it, and that way they're not on your tail. Because if they get the opportunity, you might get hit. It just happens, okay? And that's because, hey, you know, it is a third world country. It's, you know, you have to understand it. Look, most bathrooms, they're not clean, okay? Even during the you know, because I've been here a long time. Every public bathroom was dirty. There was never toilet paper. Why? Because the Tico's still the toilet paper. There was never paper towels. There was never soap. And hardly ever would you even find a stinking toilet seat in a lot of them, okay? So something that you need to know about. Hey, this is not a whining session. I'm letting you know so that you can be prepared, right? Ladies, bring extra toilet paper, right? Maybe bring your own toilet seat. It's just part of life, you know? So things are different in Costa Rica, and it's things that you need to know about. You know, even though we went through the pandemic, more people did actually, because they were forced to wash their hands. But, you know, when things relax, nobody washes their hands. There's no toilet paper. There's no paper towels. There's no soap, you know, and so it's right back to the way it was. Because Ticos don't change, you know, even though they were taught to wash their hands, they don't wash their hands, and they still steal the toilet paper. They still steal the paper towels. So yes, it's back. So, you know, Jarrett says third world ? Yes, if you do your research, while it is still a third world country, and people say, oh, it's not politically correct to say it's a third world country. It's a less developed country. Go look up the definition of third world country. Yes, it's not like Ethiopia where, you know, people are pot-bellied kids starving to death, but a third world country is a country that the infrastructure, the government, all that is less developed than a first world country. So yes, it is, and I don't mean that in a mean way at all. It's simply a third world country, and it's important that you know that, realize that way you can enjoy your slice of paradise. You know, the technology is just way behind, but they've made leaps and bounds, a lot of advancements, a lot of improvements. They've actually installed fiber optic, and now there's a lot of places you can get fiber optic. You know, where I'm at right now, even though I'm only a few minutes away from a very, very touristy area, the internet was terrible. So I had to buy extra internet so that I could work here. But the internet I bought came from, you know, tower to tower like I have at my place. But it cost me $75 a month, but I have fiber optic for that $75 a month. That's something I couldn't have got even a couple of years ago. So, you know, there are lots of improvements, and when you can control your environment, you really, really can enjoy it. You know, I'm looking at the comments and questions. So if you have any comments, questions, please put them in there so that I can answer them as we're going along, because I definitely want to answer those. And look, you know, if you got a different perspective, please share that, okay? Because I am sharing my perspective of, and I normally don't live in touristy areas. I don't live in the city. So it is much more difficult for me because I do live in remote areas. But I've chosen that because, hey, if I wanted to be around a lot of tourists, I would have stayed in the United States. But I like being remote. I like having more monkeys than people for my neighbors. You know, I think one of the big reasons that a lot of people do leave is they simply cannot adjust to the Pura Vida mentality. You know, the Pura Vida lifestyle is terribly, terribly different than what you're used to. It's definitely different for me. I almost left in the very first month because I needed internet, and they kept saying, the internet's coming tomorrow. It's coming mañana, mañana, mañana. A month later, mañana wasn't here, and we left, you know, so I was going nuts, okay? So, but, you know, for some people, especially when you retire and you've got a lot of time on your hands, well, when you retire, and look, be honest, I was moving way too fast in the United States, and I've learned to adapt and overcome. I've learned to enjoy life more. I've learned not to work so hard. And, you know, now that I've gotten used to the Pura Vida lifestyle, while I'm still not Pura Vida lifestyle, I get to, if I say I'm going to be there at 8, I'm going to be there at 7:45. If I say that I'm going to see you tomorrow, guarantee you're going to see me tomorrow at the exact time I tell you. So, you know, you don't have to adopt the Pura Vida mentality. You just have to understand that everybody else is living Pura Vida mentality. And when they say mañana, mañana might mean tomorrow, might mean next week. It might mean they never come. It might mean you have to keep calling and calling and calling and calling. But that's just Pura Vida. And Pura Vida has a lot of definitions, okay? So, hey, Gloria, welcome. So glad to see you here today. Yes, indeed. Gloria met up with me at a restaurant down near the San Isidro area. Had a great time meeting Gloria. Matter of fact, Gloria even gave us some gifts, and I put those solar lights she gave me out in the front yard, which makes it look so great at my place. Thank you so much, Gloria. Greatly appreciate it. So, you know, the Pura Vida lifestyle is very, very tough. And what's important to understand is that, you know, Ticos are reactive. In other words, you know, if something is about to break, they will wait till it's completely broken. They will react. They're not proactive. You know, for me, I'm a proactive kind of person. I'm always going to check my oil, and I'm going to check my water. I'm going to check my tires, you know, and I'm going to do all of that stuff so that my vehicle lasts a lot longer. Ticos don't do that, okay? Ticos, maybe they just not taught to do that. Most of it. Not saying every single one of them. You know, if the road, you know, if their driveway is about to wash out, well, they're going to wait till the whole driveway is washed out. Then they're going to fix it, because they'll just keep going around and keep going around and keep going around. You know, so it's important to understand that mentality. You know, that what I tell people, if you really understand the culture of Costa Rica, then you can really enjoy life, because all of the things that you hate about living in Costa Rica, it all goes right back to the culture of Costa Rica, where they're just very relaxed, very back, okay? So laid back. So anyway, crime is another big reason why people actually leave. Yes, indeed, Gloria, hit me up in the members area. Contact me, let me know. I'd love to meet up with you, okay? Crime is a big reason why a lot of people leave. And while there are some dangerous crimes, okay, you don't really hear about most of that, okay, because that would be bad publicity, okay? But there are some bad crimes. Not a lot, but there are some, okay? You can avoid that by making sure you have a big, bad dog. You can avoid that by having cameras out, okay? You can avoid that by having motion detective lights, okay? But there's still going to be some crime. You know, in Costa Rica, you're supposed to keep a, I guess you can call it an emergency road kit in your vehicle. Well, my old car doesn't lock. So every time I buy one, it doesn't take long before they stole that emergency road kit. I'm tired of buying emergency road kits, so I just don't ever have one. And so when I broke down on the road the other day, I didn't have the, you know, the triangle reflectors to put out on the road, you know, but I will say I did. Of course, the tow truck was almost there, but I had one a Tico woman who lived right around the corner. I guess her grandmother lived there. She was going to visit her grandmother. She pulled over and she gave me two of the triangle reflectors, told me she lived right there, and I put them out. So it would make it safer, because even though I had my flashers on, put those out there to be a little bit safer. But funny story, you know, a lot of Ticos, they don't have the money to buy that emergency road kit. So they will go and they'll break off branches, and they will put branches, you know, every 50 feet or every 50 meters, they put these broken branches in the road. So if you happen to be coming around the curve and you see broken branches, then mentally say, oh, Alan told me about that. Someone might be broke down. So slow down. Now, the only bad thing is if they're broke down and they do get off the road, they don't go move the branches. So while they would go and get their triangles and move them off the road because they cost money, branches don't cost money. I'll put the branches out there, let you know I'm broke down. But when I leave, them branches are staying in the road. So anyway, it's just Costa Rica and just important stuff for you to know about, okay? So anyway, just things. And you know what? I think... So let me go back to the crime, because we're talking about crime, and while there are some serious crime, there's not a lot of it. And the biggest thing about crime is the petty theft. You know, I can't keep an emergency road kit in my vehicle. You know, if I leave my shoes outside, if I leave a bike out, if I leave anything outside, it will get stolen. Okay. And so almost every house has to have a propane tank, and most people put it inside the house. Well, it's dangerous. You should never have a propane tank in your house. Okay. Matter of fact, in the United States, it's illegal to put your propane tank in the house. It's always supposed to be outside, okay? And so anyway, they put it inside to keep people from stealing it. I put mine outside because it's dangerous, but I got to chain it down. So after my propane tank was stolen 5 or 6 times, I finally chained my propane tank down so that it wouldn't get stolen again, because it's expensive to go buy these propane tanks, and they'll steal them, use up the gas, maybe trade them in. I don't know what they do. So anyway, you know what? I think another reason, and a big reason, in my opinion, that people do leave Costa Rica is it's the little things. You know, the little things do matter. You know, the little things will drive you nuts. I know it drives me nuts, you know. It's like I said in this other video, when I go to the bank, man, I hate going to the bank because banking in the United States is so fast, so easy. I mean, look, you can just go to the ATM machine and do just about all of your banking. You can withdraw money, lickety split. You can deposit money in your ATM. And in Costa Rica, I've never, well, only up until about a year ago did I see an actual ATM machine where you could deposit money, but nobody was using it. And that's simply because, look, they are so far behind the times. Ticos don't trust putting money in an ATM machine. So you go into the bank, most of the time in smaller places, you get to play musical chairs. And what I mean by that, might be 20 or 30 people in there, but while they will have a machine where you can pull a number, it won't have any tape in there. They won't have any numbers. And so they have musical chairs. So, you know, there'll be 20 or 30 chairs. And so you get to sit in the last chair. The person in front moves. You get up, move over. Everybody gets up, moves over. Everybody gets up, moves over. It's musical chairs. It's just barbaric. But for them, it works. It works. And so even during COVID, you would think they would have bought some numbers to put in there because in COVID, you don't want to spread disease. No, they didn't. Musical chairs, musical chairs, musical chairs. It's just part of the Pura Vida mentality. The other day I went to the bank. I pulled a number. Man, that bank was loaded. My number was 46. I looked up the screen and the next number would be 65. I was like, no, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. That's backwards. Oh, yeah, the next number would be 65, which means they would have to go all the way to 100, start back at 1, and all the way back up. I had over 80 people ahead of me, and I was like, there's no way in the world I'm going to wait that long. So I left, came back the next morning, and I was there at 8 o'clock because they opened at 8:30, and there was already 2 people ahead of me. So, hey, look, it takes forever to do your banking, so I hate going banking. But look, money solves a multitude of issues. If you got $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, then you just got to go and deposit it one time. And that way you don't have to go to the bank every single month or every couple of weeks. You go to the bank once every 3 or 4 months. And that way you don't have to waste all that time. So that's just part of being in Costa Rica. You know, in Costa Rica, the water goes off all the time. I've yet to find a place where the water didn't go off all the time. So put up a water tank. And at my place, my water never goes off. So I'm very fortunate because my water comes straight from the river and I don't have to worry about that. So if my water goes off, I know I got a problem. But guess what? I've already got a backup system installed. So if my water goes off, my tank is full of water and I got enough water to last me a couple of weeks. And when I notice the water's gone off, all I got to do is run out there and fix it. One day's time, it's fixed and I'm up and running again. So there's lots of things you can do to control your environment so you can enjoy life. Electricity is always blinking, always going off. When the electricity blinks, the internet goes off. My computer will then, you know, is not saving anymore, and it might be off for a long time. So then I got to save everything because I do have battery backups. But if you don't have battery backups, it would immediately go off. You'd lose your work. So, you know, there's things that you can do to alleviate all of those headaches. Lots of things you can do, but they all cost money. So, hey, if you don't want the electricity to go off, buy you some solar panels, right? Or buy you some battery backup so that everything will stay on. Just things that you need to know about, okay? The internet goes off all the time, so it will blink or it will go off. So anyway, it's part of it. Someone said, how did you get the car fixed? Well, the car is still in the shop. So the tow truck brought the car to the shop. And of course, it was a Friday night. It was Saturday morning. They looked at it, but of course, they can't get any parts or anything, probably till, you know, this week sometime. So hopefully I won't be stranded for a few days. Hopefully it will get fixed soon, but All we got to do is, hey, we got to pray and hope for favor that it's not going to cost me an absolute fortune to fix it. It's just part of it, okay? Hey, I think some people, they love the seasons, where they're coming from the United States and they got 4 seasons. And Costa Rica doesn't have 4 seasons. Really, it's 1 season. But, you have rainy season and you have dry season. But there's just not a lot of difference. So if you're the type of person, man, you love how the leaves change color in autumn and you got all those beautiful colors and it starts getting cool, that doesn't happen in Costa Rica. Now, where I live at, it feels like I go through 3 or 4 seasons every day because when I get up, it's nice and cool and brisk, kind of feels like spring. Then it gets warm in the summer. It's like summertime around 12 to 2 o'clock. Then it starts cooling down. It feels like fall. At nighttime, it's nice and cool. I can create a fire every single night. So it feels like where I live at, because I live at about 4,500 feet in altitude, it's nice and cool. It's beautiful. And so, if you like the seasons, find you a place to live in the mountains, okay? Hey, Doug brought up a very good point. As far as hot water, you can use solar hot water, and that might actually be cheaper than I actually have instant hot water from propane. So I got a propane tank, instant hot water system, cost about $300, and I got a system that gives me instant hot water that can supply my whole house with hot water. So there are things that you can do, because keep in mind, in Costa Rica, most houses do not have any hot water except in the shower, and that hot water generally comes from the suicide shower. And that's scary enough as it is, because we all think, well, water and electricity don't mix, but that's how they get their hot water, okay? And so that's just things for you to know about. One of the things that drives me absolutely nuts is how Ticos will park in the street. Ticos, instead of parking in the parking spot to go into the store, they will actually park on the curb, blocking 2 actual empty spots. That's like, dude, now I'm coming in and I can't park in, one of the 2 only empty spots because you are parking long ways and blocking those 2 spots. Makes no sense to me. But to them, they're like, oh, I'm only going to be in there 10 minutes. Pura Vida. They go in. Oh, look, it's my neighbor. 30 minutes later, they're still blocking those 2 empty spots, or they parked and they're blocking you. And now you got to go find the knucklehead who parked behind you. Hey, it's just part of the Pura Vida mentality. So, it's just something that you need to know about. And those little bitty things, I call it the breaker effect. You get so many things happening, all of a sudden it flips the breaker, up here, and you're like, man, I'm leaving. I've had enough of it. So, and I think a lot of people, they leave in that first 2 years, and you have to understand that when you move here, it's going to take you a year and a half, 2 years to get your residency. It's a very, very long, bad red tape, bureaucratic, process. And so I will say that after you get your residency, things are a lot easier. Now, why is that? Well, when you come here to Costa Rica, you really can't open up a bank account. There are a few private places that you can. It's very difficult to open up a bank account. But if you pay money, once again, more money, to establish a Costa Rican corporation, wow, it makes life so much easier, because then you can get a cell phone plan with your corporation. You can get utilities. You can get a bank account. So, Costa Rica will not let you open up a bank account. Now, that don't make no sense to me. I'm going to put money in the bank. Why wouldn't you? But hey, look, it's just the way it is. So once you become a resident, well, if you're a resident, it's so much easier, because now you have your residency card, and it's your identification. And so, while you don't have all of the rights like a Tico does, and you still don't have any rights because you're a guest in the country, you do have a lot more benefits. Life is a lot easier for you while you're in Costa Rica. So, those are all things that you need to be planning out and be thinking about, because, hey, Costa Rica, for me, like I have always said, there's more pros than there are cons. And while there's a lot of things that I don't like, and the thing that I hate the most is I really, really hate getting conned. I hate the gringo pricing, so you just have to learn how to deal with all of that so that you can avoid as much of that as possible. So that's really the majority of it right there. But hey, give me your questions, your comments. What is your experience? Hey, now is a good time, and I'll answer any questions whatsoever, not only on, the drawbacks of living in Costa Rica, but hey, anything else. And I do want to say, hey, I greatly appreciate everybody that has shown up. Hey, please take a moment to hit that like button. Hey, liking and commenting, that helps a whole lot so that YouTube will push this video out and more people will see it. Now, unfortunately, because we did talk about a lot of drawbacks and what sound like negative things, well, YouTube is probably going to slap me, and they probably are going to demonetize this video, which really doesn't matter because the money that you make on YouTube is peanuts, when you have just a small channel. And, even though I've got over 10,000 subscribers, and thank you, subscribers, I greatly appreciate it. Still, it's peanuts. I think Google put $120 in my account for the ads on YouTube. So, a lot of people don't realize that the money that you make on YouTube is peanuts. It's nothing until you get, you get 100,000 subscribers, 50,000 subscribers. You get videos that's getting millions and millions of views. Okay, so, I do this because I enjoy it and I enjoy sharing my knowledge. I don't sell you anything. Now, hey, yes, of course, I try to offer you of the members only community, but I'm still only selling you the truth. Okay. So I don't have any reason to not tell you or not share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly about Costa Rica. I think it's very important. I wish somebody would have shared with me all of the information I'm sharing with you. So, hey, if you're here and you want to ask questions live, you're welcome to do that. All you got to do is unmute your mic, okay? Oh, look, Show says, hey, what are some of the best grocery stores to shop at? Now, in my opinion, if you happen to be living, it's around, well, San Isidro and South, they have this chain of stores that's called the B&M. So it's called BMA. These people, they have been to the United States. They saw it because most all of the Costa Rican grocery stores are just nasty little places. They're dirty. They're not organized. They have very little lights. It's dark. But if you go to the BMA, and so you'll see a great big old huge B and an M, the BMA, man, clean bathrooms, super nice, good people, friendly. So the best grocery stores to go to is the BMA. If you happen to be, in the San Jose metropolitan area, you can go to the Price Smart and you can buy a lot of stuff there. But it's just like a Sam's Club or a Costco. It's a membership fee. So you pay a one-time fee and you can get stuff there. And you can get a lot of great stuff. And it is cheap to do that. Gloria mentioned that it is easy to open up a bank account at Coppola Alianza. Now, Coppola Alianza, what I hear, is easy to open up a bank account. That is a private institution or private bank. So if you're having problems with getting a bank account, then I suggest going to the Coppola Alianza. Thank you so much for sharing that, Gloria, because that is a whole lot easier. I don't know how their internet banking is, Gloria. Maybe you can share that, because I actually bank at Banco Nacional, and I was banking at the Bank of Costa Rica, but I did not like the Bank of Costa Rica's website because, I'm a high-tech nut, man. I like to do everything online, and the Bank of Costa Rica's website was awful. But the Banco Nacional's website, it's a lot better. It's just not as awful. So anyway, I use the Bank of Nacional, and I do all my banking there. It's just a lot better for me, in my opinion. However, I can't withdraw dollars from Banco Nacional ATM machine. Now I can, however, and this makes no sense. That goes back to the Tico mentality. if you have a bank account at Banco Nacional and you deposit dollars into your account so that you can use your debit card to go shopping, you can use your debit card from Banco Nacional, go to the ATM machine and withdraw dollars. Wait a minute. I don't want to withdraw the dollars that I put into that bank. I want to withdraw dollars from your ATM machine from my United States bank account. Well, Banco Nacional does not will not give you dollars from their ATM machine from your United States bank account. So I have to go to Bank of Costa Rica. And if I go to Bank of Costa Rica, I can withdraw dollars from their ATM machine. But the limit, how much you can withdraw, is dependent on what city you're in. Down in Buenos Aires, I think the limit is $100. In Jaco, I was able to withdraw $600. So, obviously there's more tourists in that area. So it really just all depends. And I got a video coming out in a few days. It talks all about the difference about banking in Costa Rica, and sharing some of that information. Okay. Karen says that she didn't have any problem opening up a bank account at ProAmerica. And they have online banking. And once again, I think ProAmerica is independent, or it's not owned by Costa Rica. So indeed. Someone says, I'm with you about the monkey to human ratio. Absolutely. I love having more monkeys in my yard than people. So indeed. They're quiet. They don't never play their music loud. And that's just something that you need to know about. I'm right here in this, and Tico's they really don't think about anybody else. They're only thinking about themselves. So even right here where I'm at, there's 3 other apartments here, and it's mostly people it's an Airbnb. Well, they will come in, they will have their cell phone, a little bitty speaker. They're right there at the pool, and they turn it up as loud as they can. And they do that because they really believe that I enjoy their music. And it's like, I should be really thankful that I don't have to play my music. I can listen to their music. But guess what? I don't want to listen to their chinky chank. Okay. In the United States, you can hey, I'm going to go to a country and Western bar. I'm going to go to a Hard Rock Cafe. You got all these different kind of bars. In Costa Rica, you got one bar, and they all play the exact same kind of chinky chank. I don't want to listen to that chinky chank. That's not my kind of music. Okay. And, but I'm not a bar kind of guy anyway. Okay. So, that's another thing that you need to know. There really is nothing to do in Costa Rica. Now, look, if you live in San Jose in the metropolitan area, well, there's tons of different places to go eat. There's museums and there's things that you can go see. But outside of that, there's nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean there's nothing to do in Costa Rica except for nature. I love nature, but it's not like you're going to go to the skating rink, the bowling alley. You're not going to go play putt-putt golf. You're not going to do anything because there's simply not anything to do in Costa Rica but enjoy nature. But guess what? The Ticos, they get off work 2 or 3 o'clock. All they're going to do is sit on the porch and watch people going back and forth across the way and talk to everybody. That's the laid back Pura Vida mentality. So it's different. Those are things that you need to be aware of so that you can adjust your expectations when you're coming to Costa Rica. So, it is absolutely different. Okay. Now, Show says, do you get a different exchange rate at the banks, or are they all offering the same rate? You know what? I couldn't answer that question, honestly. I think the exchange rate varies just a little bit, but I do think the exchange rate is controlled by the government. Not 100% certain on that, but the exchange rate does vary just a little bit from bank to bank. I think, not 100% sure on that, but it's not enough to worry about, I believe. Okay. So, hey, put in your questions in your comments here, because I definitely would love to answer any of your questions and comments. And as long as the questions are there, I'm going to answer every single one of them. But when the questions stop, then we'll call it a day, because we've been here for a little over an hour and I'm having a blast. I hope that you are, enjoying a little bit of apple juice, and I hope you enjoy my virtual house here. Come in and have a seat. Maybe play the piano for me. So anyway, absolutely love being in Costa Rica. I do miss being back at my place, and I'm really, really looking forward to actually building my tiny house. I can't wait to get back on that. But I can say I am, while I do have a lot of experience in building, I am learning a lot of different things and different techniques and different strategies. I'm learning a lot of stuff on this house build site down here. So really having a whole lot of fun with that. All right, so I'm kind of going back, and hey, look, I really greatly appreciate all the folks that have donated and that support us, because the channel, we do this because I enjoy sharing stuff, but there are some costs involved and there is some overhead. So I do greatly appreciate it, and it's just a way for you to give me a shout out and tell me that you appreciate what we do. So we do thank you very, very much for all of that. Okay. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this name, but anyway, she says she loves nature, but she's a fear of isolation if she was to move out on her own. And hey, you know what? I think that I think there's a few people that's like that. And hey, look, find you a roommate, find somebody that's just like you that wants to move out. And this is a great time for me to actually say that, look, if you want to come out to Costa Rica, I am actually looking for an intern. So if you want practically a free vacation, be sure to look in the description below this video, and you can apply, or you can get the information you need to know about possibly becoming an intern, where you can learn everything about the off-grid homestead, learn everything about YouTube and creating your own channel, learn everything about creating an online business. Now, in order to be an intern, you cannot be camera shy, because you'll end up learning how to become a YouTube personality right along beside me. So anyway, that's just some things that I wanted to throw out there for you. Gloria says, have you ever heard of a ram pump that moves water uphill? Absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to build one, or was getting ready to build one just before I came out to this job site to do this, this video series. And a ram pump is a great way to actually pump water from a stream that might be below your house uphill, and it doesn't require any electricity. It's a mechanical ram pump. And you can do some research on YouTube, and I'll eventually do a video on it, but you can do some research on video and look up mechanical ram pump. And there's one guy that does a lot of videos on that, really great information. So it's a great way to actually pump water uphill, and it's going to pump it slow, but you buy you a great big huge water tank, 2,000-gallon water tank, and let it pump it into there, because it's pumping 24/7. Your tank is always full, and in that way you'll have water from a stream that is not far from you. The thing that you do need to know about it is that if a ram pump will only work if you have fall. And what I mean is that, and most of the time in Costa Rica, you can get some fall. It just means that the water has to be coming downhill. So if it's coming downhill and you got to wait for that water to drop into this ram pump, then it gives it force to actually create this thing. And the more force you have, the higher uphill it will actually pump your water. So that gives you just a tidbit about a ram pump. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Hey, I greatly appreciate everybody attending. Please make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to hit some comments underneath the video. Greatly, greatly appreciate you joining me. Really appreciate you joining me live. Gives you the ability to be here live. Gives you the ability to ask your questions live if you want to. Or you can just sit here and enjoy the live like we are doing now. So, all right. Well, I think that is all of it. We've been here an hour. I greatly appreciate all your questions and comments. You only got a couple of minutes to ask your last question or comment, and I'll be more than glad to help you out. I do thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate you all being here. I can't wait to see you again next Sunday, because next Sunday I'm going to have a special guest that we're going to be doing a live with, and we're going to actually be talking about that attorney that was a guest speaker a few days ago. So we're going to be talking to her, and you'll be able to actually ask her questions about buying property in Costa Rica. So be sure to put it on your calendar and join me live next Sunday as we get the chance to ask her everything you want to know about buying property in Costa Rica. I'll see you next week.